Hi. Hi, everybody who joined. Thank you guys for being here. And there goes Shalom.
Highest blessings.
So, I'm Victoria. For those of you guys that don't know me, because I know some of my followers are new. And this is my first live, and I'm super excited to be sharing with you guys. It was on my heart to really create this series, In the Bed with Victoria, from a conversation that I had with my partner and husband, Shalom, yesterday. Hi. Literally, my sister called me and just dropped some information. And I'm in New York and they're in California. And it shifted the day. And then I realized, just talking to her, that no one had the tools to really figure out what it was that the problem was. So it's a space where we can all have conversations and just be vulnerable, because I feel like your bed is the one place where you go and you're your most vulnerable. Come to Cali, we're gonna come and be your most vulnerable and just be real and just talk. And so that's what the bed is with V is about. It's about coming on and just having a conversation that we can share the tools that can move us forward as a collective. Because I know just sometimes if you don't have the person or friend or family member to talk to about something, you don't know how to solve something. So it's just, we share information and tools that can help us all just collectively move forward or help somebody that we know. So today I'm super excited because I have Shalom on, and we're going to be talking about consciousness within relationships. Specifically, there's a quote from our book, Cosmic Sexuality, which Shalom is the cover to. And it's been circulating around Instagram and shared on both of our pages. And there's been a lot of questions about what does it mean and if it's really true. And we just want to both share from the masculine perspective and the feminine perspective as well, to give what the quote really means and how, with the proper information, you can change your relationship to not be the case. So the quote is, "It's important to note when a man experiences a woman higher in consciousness than him, it is virtually impossible for him to continue in a healthy relationship with her. This will force change upon him and possibly the untimely destruction of his lower self." So before we get into that, and before I ask Shalom what that means from the masculine understanding, I want to just talk about what it means to be equally yoked in a relationship. I feel like even me or Shalom, I was just getting into relationships and not really understand, one, what the term meant itself, and just not understand what we're doing. But to be equally yoked with someone, you're literally tying yourself to them. That's really what the term yoked means. You're now tying yourself to someone else. But if you're tying yourself to someone else and you don't know what you're tying yourself to or who you're tying yourself to, how could you guys progressively move forward together? So being equally yoked is really about just getting to the real stuff. Why are you guys in a relationship? How you guys can work together to grow. And you really want to know like where your partner's at. Like just spiritually, like what are their goals spiritually, who they are, what work have they done to get to the point that they're at. Because if you're both just in a relationship, and I've been there too, so I'm not just speaking to whoever is single or trying to figure it out. I'm also speaking to my past self that had to learn and grow from that. I would literally just get in a relationship and just be happy just to be in the relationship and to figure it out with them. That would be consumed with trying to figure it out, that we're not focused on the understanding of what it means to be equally yoked with someone else, to like really grow and progress and really build something that's like substantial spiritually and just collectively for the community and for your family. So you just want to make sure that you have one understanding of what that means and that the partner understands what that means as well. Because it's important, you know, you want to make sure that you know what you're doing. You're not just tied to someone and being dragged, or they're dragging you, that you're both equally each other and you know like what you're doing and how you're moving forward. You want to be with somebody that, one, you can be real with and that you can be like really you are authentically. And that's one thing I loved about being with Shalom, is because my past relationships, I would literally be with someone and it was like just really, really based in ego, because it was like, oh, well, you're my man, you're my woman, you should be doing this is how you should act. It was like really playing the roles of how relationships I thought it should be, as opposed to really just being mature enough to understand we're really working together and we're really partners, and like we got to figure it out together. And he gave me the space, and he never related to me egoically, like made me feel like, okay, you're my wife, so you need to do this, or I'm your husband, you need to do this. It was always like, okay, let's disrobe ourselves, let's communicate as partners. And when you communicate with someone as a partner, there's just a different inherent respect there, because you're going to come to them as your equal. And like, okay, how are we moving? Like, the conversation is going to be different. There's just going to be a heart level conversation where you can respect one another. So I think that's key in understanding the difference between being in a relationship and really just being in a partnership, and how the dynamic and the conversation changes. It moves more so from like this ownership perspective and control perspective to like understanding that the value of the person brings is equal to yours. And so that's really what it means to be equally yoked to me.
Well said. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you all those that's joined and communicating and sending your love. We deeply appreciate you. We thank you for being here, investing your time, energy, and awareness. As you're speaking, there's so many points being mentioned, but like you said, masculine, feminine perspective. Just so we're clear on this, guys, we're not just saying like man or woman perspective. We're speaking energy and polarity. There's two sides to everything, a battery, a coin, existence, and it's important that we're holistic. We contain both masculine and feminine energies, and our goal is, even in our wholeness as both man and woman, we still want to share those perspectives and how we can see from them, so we have a complete view of these topics. It's easy for one of us to get up and just speak on a topic, but sometimes we could be missing the other side of that coin. It's very healthy if we get both sides. One thing I love about being in a partnership with Victoria, she's very vocal, she's fiercely independent, yet she's able to still work in tandem and in partnership. So that's a very powerful aspect to have. So with the quote, I want to touch on a quote because I believe you covered the equally yoked part.
Really. And I'll some of the key things that people felt strongly about, because it's a very strong stance. It's a very strong stance to make, to say virtually impossible, right? And this is,
yes. I think
written from a male's perspective. It's written from your perspective.
One more time for all those that's joined, and we should read the quote one more time. And we have a beautiful. Thank you for this beautiful sentiment.
Yeah.
A lot to us.
So I'll go to you, Shalom, and then I want you to touch on some of the points that are really strong. To me, what people have shared is the part about it being virtually impossible and the destruction of his lower self. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to reread it to you so you can touch on it and explain more.
Yes.
The quote is, it's important to note when a male experiences a woman higher in consciousness than him, it's virtually impossible for him to continue in a healthy relationship with her. This will force change upon him and possibly the untimely destruction of his lower self.
Yes. So let's walk through this, because a lot of what we get is under a comment of a quote like that. We'll get a strong streams of yes, facts. There's no lie here. And then we'll get a few question marks and concerns about the words used and the context. When we say virtually impossible, when a man is lower in consciousness than a woman, then it'll be virtually impossible for her to continue in a healthy relationship. It's important that we look at all the words phrased here. Virtually impossible is being respectful, but still honest, because it's almost impossible, but that's why we use the word virtually. Then we also said healthy relationship. Okay, so if a man is lower in consciousness than a woman he's with, we're saying it's almost virtually impossible for him to continue in a healthy relationship. I'm sure you're probably in a relationship with a lower conscious individual. Okay, and we actually have the quote being paraphrased by Mark. Thank you, Marcus. It means a lot. Thank you, beloved. It's important to emphasize the word healthy, because you can be in a relationship with lower consciousness, a lower conscious person. From the woman to man perspective, we're speaking of at this point. So the woman is with the man and she believes, or she's experiencing the understanding that he's lower in consciousness. It's impossible for her to continue in a healthy relationship. This is where we're talking about more of the abusive nature coming in, the controlling nature, the destructive nature, the insecurities. Because he's lower in consciousness, he's not at eye level, he's not equally yoked, he's not confident, he's not secure in his positioning. We're not beating down on this man. We're talking about someone in this experience. They understand that, wait, I can't grow with this man. I cannot proceed with this person. And what's ironic is when I speak about this, I was once that man.
So with that being said, I want to speak to the
clarify before pre-Victoria, I was once that man. So I can speak from a place of knowing. Continue.
So with the virtually impossible, then that would fit in what you're saying. What made you change as a man to go from it being virtually impossible to it being possible?
What's very important is if you're in a relationship and you are a woman and the man is lower in consciousness, what made me change was that woman walking away from me. Because it taught me that she respected herself and that I need to figure out what was going on and what was wrong with me. And then figuring that out, it wasn't for me to fix it with her, but it's for me to fix it within myself and then get graduated spiritually to the next level. And when that relationship, not that specific one, but when a relationship returns into my orbit, how do I handle that is what the universe or all that is going to allow me to exhibit and prove and show. How do I treat myself? How do I treat this next partner? What am I going to do differently? Okay, let's put it simple. You get a great, I'm not comparing people to cars, but I'm going to give you an example. You work hard, you work really hard for something, you have respect for it. Okay, something comes into your orbit and you're not ready for it. Let's say a really high-end car or something or home. You're not going to know how to take care of it. Okay, you lose it. When you do get the opportunity again, you will have a deeper appreciation if you learned your lesson. So it's important to understand the healthy relationship aspect. Okay, when a man is lower in consciousness, he simply cannot value and appreciate the partner that he's faced with, and she is presenting him with a challenge of destroying his lower self. We did have some things in the public, whether Kevin Hart, DJ Khaled came up, where if it's something within the man, he has to want to destroy it.
Right. And speaking to what Shalom is saying, I can attest to this before him, like literally being in a relationship with a man and going through the same cycles and me getting to a point of respecting myself and being able to identify why these same things and coming to him and trying to explain it to him, like, okay, and trying to show him the problem and him just not being able to see the problem because we were in the problem together, and literally leaving and walking away from him and him coming back years later and saying sorry because I now realized but he had to become another person to even see who he was then. So it's like he had to raise his consciousness to become a person to be aware of that.
Respect. So let's speak on that. Great point. What do we do? Okay, you asked me the great question of what did I do to raise my consciousness? And it's not so much what did I do, it's what was done. Okay, because we're talking about if I'm lower in consciousness and I'm with a woman that's higher in consciousness and I cannot elevate with her because I feel resistance, I feel like my ego is threatened, I feel like I'm not being respected, such and such, then I should be at a conscious level where I'm able to navigate and patiently work through these things and understand what I'm seeing, what's going on. So when we say we're frustrated, we're simply saying the problem is above us and we're not at the conscious level to solve it. And it's important to be at the level of the solution and not the problem in a relationship. But that takes maturity. So when we're talking about lowering consciousness, we're not talking about age.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about spiritual maturity.
Yeah. And sorry, even speaking to what you were saying, like from the feminine perspective, to being a man who's a lower consciousness and being in a relationship with that man, for the woman, it feels like almost like you're birthing the baby midterm. And the baby might be born, but it's going to have complications, and you got to help the baby grow, and it's a lot. And then eventually the baby grows up and it goes on its way. So literally that's what it can be likened to. And I think that's what you're speaking to when you said without the untimely destruction of his lower self. Like I literally had people in my DM ask me too as well, well, is that necessarily a bad thing? No, it's not a bad thing if the man wants to actually grow and change. But if he has no awareness to what's going wrong, that's not going to be the case.
Yes.
And you're going to go into a tug of war. We're trying to help him figure it out. And then that's going to lead to the destruction of the relationship, if not break you down before then. So, yeah.
Well, let's bring an overview in. Thank you for all those that's in the room. We're in the bed with V right now. I'm Shalom Melchizedek. This is Victoria Liana. We're talking about a quote that we shared from our book, Cosmic Sexuality. It's right here, physical copy. And
So painful.
we got full comments coming up. If a man is with a woman beyond his level, it is best that he recognizes that it's time to go within, to learn and develop a relationship with self and aloneness. Beautiful, so painful for both parties. Either someone is ready to meet you or grow to meet you. Beautiful. So let's speak about this, because now that we have everyone understanding the context of what we're talking about, what's the options? Okay, if I'm a man in I'm a man in a relationship, I'm with a woman, she's higher in consciousness than me. Let's go from another perspective. She's higher in consciousness than me. Excuse me. So from the woman's perspective, what I would simply suggest, because I've dealt with this on many levels in healing work and different work that I do in guided work, and I always see this through. I'm talking about from relationship ending to the next one, maybe graduating to a proper relationship, whatever the case may be, or the person taking time for themselves. It's been a history here of experience and seeing graduation from this and healthy growth from something like this. Mm-hmm. It's very important to understand that you cannot evolve with a partner that's not at eye level.
Right.
But it's almost equally important, and it's that we all understand this, because a lot of people go, can this reverse? The man cannot be lower in consciousness. That's not an option. He's too dominant in his nature. So if someone's dominant in their own, I'm not saying a woman's not dominant, I'm saying the man is dominant in his thinking pattern. There's nothing anyone can do about that.
And to speak to what Shalom is saying.
A second, I just want to finish this through. So if he's dominant in his thinking pattern, I don't want them to lose his thought, because this is key. You don't want to waste time struggling with him. You don't want to be dragging anyone around. If he's equal consciousness to you, even if he's higher, he'll have the discipline and patience. Mm-hmm. You won't have to drag him around. Okay, so it's just important that you understand when a man's lower in consciousness, this is not bashing. You're dragging someone around, and he's not comfortable with what you're proposing, and he cannot see the wisdom and the goddess within you and the intuition that you're bringing forth through the relationship. He just cannot relate to it. It's not a place where he's at consciously. He hasn't birthed the divine feminine within him. So it has to be equal. If he is higher, there's still a chance of survival, because he should have more compassion, more love, more patience, so he can deal with the issues that they arise, see your wisdom still, and trust that there will be a rising to the occasion, which in a woman's format, she's always thriving. Mm-hmm. She's the fast learner. She's naturally more mature in many cases. She's the nurturer. So we don't ever really have to worry. So it's very smart. It's very smart that, yes, discipline is very key. Discipline is key. Awareness is key too. Self-awareness. But that's very difficult in a relationship when you feel someone is, you feel like they're acting above you, but it's not that they're acting, they probably are. Okay, so we have a question. Do you suggest that the woman allows in the growth and reach that consciousness with her, or separately, not necessarily returning to him, but growing in his own? Again, what I suggest is very key, that the woman, it's very important that if she's with the man in lower consciousness, I had to allow the woman to lead, like, not allow, let me rephrase this. The woman left me, and that allowed me to grow, because it wasn't healthy. And if she stayed there, it would have only been more and more destructive. So it's important that I'm speaking from that perspective. If we turn it around, which is what this is about with me and Victoria perspectives, you want her to, she has to be mature enough to say.
Right, and to recognize it. Yeah.
There you go. Go ahead.
I love this. I love that Shalom is on fire this way. I love this because he's sharing from a masculine perspective, and I feel like and especially we need this perspective and understanding from someone that's actually done the work to be at another level, to work with a partner, and to realize, it's about elevating each other. So I'm actually happy that you continue to finish your point through, because you spoke to something that I was going to actually say and share, is that as women that we're naturally the nurturers, and more we have a connection more so to Mother Gaia, to Earth, and so we want to hold on more so and nurture that man like he's our child, instead of letting him go and really helping him to really birth himself, because it's not our job to birth a man that's already been born from a mom. It's his job to go and figure out his balance of what was needed to be done to work with him from his parents, and get what it is to now work with another woman, and produce a third, if that's what they want to do. So that is powerful, and I thank you for sharing the point through and sharing it from your perspective.
It's just very key that we understand consciousness is, although we want it to be a two-way street in a relationship, it is in our own individuality. But when you come together, it becomes one understanding of a larger consciousness that gets born. So if the man is lacking that, if he's lower, it's not an irreverse. It's not something you just simply reverse and go, well, what if the woman's lower, and you play a game? The man has to be equal, minimum. Him being lower in consciousness is simply not an option for the evolution of that relationship, because he's already, in his mind, dominant in his nature. So imagine waddling around with a dominant person that is lower in consciousness.
So I feel like this is a great segue for me to ask you now, understanding what you just shared, if a woman understands this, but she still doesn't want to let the relationship go, like if she still has that hope, because we've all been there.
Hold on as long as she wants.
What tools do you tell her? But what are the actual tools?
It's all she wants. Something that's falling apart is falling apart. You can hold on to a broken home, but it's bound to cave in. So it's you can hold on. That's not strength. Sometimes strength is letting go.
Right.
Strength isn't always holding on. That's poor habit. That's poor habit. Strength is letting go. It takes a ton of strength to, if it's a tug of war, mind you, I just said a tug of war. There's no positivity in that energy of those words. The strongest thing you can do is let go. The only war left is with the person holding the rope.
So how can she let go? How can she say she's been in this relationship for 7 years with this man? The man still changed.
Keep in mind, because you're doing a great job. You're playing the role that you need to play in this conversation, because we want to get all perspectives. I had to watch the woman walk away from me for me to evolve in consciousness. So how does she let go? Is by turning her back and going forward. She noticed something better in herself and out there. She noticed something better in here and up there. She's noticed something better all around. She just doesn't have the courage yet But that's just simply, that's a mindset that can be changed right now. She could take a deep breath and say, I let go.
Amen. Because this is a great question for you to answer. What if you're trying to manifest a better relationship with the same person?
Okay, let's speak on it. Okay, this is still struggle. The word trying is struggle because there's no trying in most languages. There's either do or don't, right?
The same person.
Understand, there's no trying. So if you're going to manifest a better person, it may not be that person, but it may be that next person will be the better version of that person. You have to accept that. We're all ultimately one energy. So if you want a mature energy of that a mature version of that energy, you gotta let go and allow that energy to come into in that world. If that man circles back with the upgrade, take him. But 9 times out of 10, he won't have that upgrade because it ain't for you.
Okay. So say, and I'm just giving perspective here because for me as a, I was
9 out of 10. Virtually, I'm not using finalized words. There's a strong 1%, and if he's meant to be, he will. The will is key. He has to will himself back into your life. And chances are, if he didn't appreciate you then, he would have to catch it really early, and he would have to be self-aware of what he's catching, and this wouldn't be the man we're talking about.
all right.
Is the man that already let it fall apart.
So something else I want to get into too, because for me, before the final burning stage of a relationship was the sex. Every time we woke up, we would have, because that was a way, it was power. It was a way of staying tied to the person. So what if this man or woman uses sex, right? And every time they have to break up, they want to have sex. What do you do? What do you do? And how do you cut the cords?
All right, that's why we have this lovely book right here, Cosmic Sexuality. Trust me, this is one of the most potent, concise books on sexuality that exists. We got cutting cords is key, sometimes more than once, calling back your power. I'll give you something better. Remove the cord. You don't need to cut it anymore. You remove the cord. You close your eyes. You go into a meditative state. You breathe. You feel where the person is when you think of them in your being. Remove the cord. You don't need to cut it. You don't even need to break it. But you're onto it. I need you to remove it. I've never felt. I need you to remove the cord. Let's all say it with me. Remove the cord. You want to? I'm talking about people. Pull the roots out. Let's go. You dig in. You find that poison. You feel it because what you feel is poison.
Right.
Love anymore.
Right.
Like I said, you could remove it. You could cut it. It's going to grow back. You can sage it. Sage is powerful, but we remove the cord. You know, this is what I do, right? I do sessions. My work is pretty much guaranteed. Okay, it comes from a deep level of experience within. Yes. Laughing at stage. You know, I'm not mad because each is own, right? We all gonna take our approach, but you can't argue me when I say remove the weed out the grass. You can sage the grass. You could pray on the grass. You could dance on the grass. But if the weed keep growing and you call me to come fix it, I'm gonna just remove the weed. You can pay me to come do something, or you can do it yourself. It's up to you in that right. But I'm gonna remove the weed, and you're gonna have a great lawn. Okay, and you can grow in your garden. You know, you want to dance, you want to sit. I'm not mad at it. I'm a simple guy. When it comes to me, I'm all energy. Energy is everything. I do inner work. I don't do the outer. So when you talk to me, it's always going to be all inner. I'm going to go as deep as possible where it can't come again.
Yeah. And speaking to what Shalom said and having been there before, the question comes up, I don't know if I'm ready. It's because you've gotten used to feeling what this other person's energy feels like within you. You forgot what your own energy feels like. And if you understood how powerful your own energy was and what it really feels like, that feeling that you really get when you know, like,
Say that again. That's the freedom and independence. Say that again. That's the freedom of being in a partnership with equal consciousness. Say that again.
How benefits relationships someone asks?
How does what?
What about friends with benefits relationships? It's a question that we have.
Friends with benefits never ends up as friends. So what's the benefit?
Are you asking me? I'm sorry, I was reading the other question that came in.
What's the benefit? If friends with benefits never ends up as friends, what's the benefit?
Yeah.
See, when you have concepts, the wording is in the concept. So it doesn't exist in a partnership. To me, a benefit is something that can sustain itself. Okay? You work, you get a job, you get benefits. As long as you work, you have those benefits. The friends with benefits concept can only work if you maintain being friends and maintain having benefits. Now, you can have a partnership where there's many benefits, but friends with benefits is a tricky concept because, as we talk about in this book, unless you learn how to retain the energy within as a man and a woman understands the value of her energy, anytime you interact with someone, it's going to go downhill if you're wasting that energy.
Yeah.
So friends with benefits cannot exist if there's no friends afterwards and there's no benefits.
And there's a question that just came in from me too, but it speaks to what you were going to say, but I'll expand on it. Can a woman with higher transfer her energy through sacred sexual interaction or rebirth him at some point? So all sexual interactions are a transfer of energy, but either you're going to be drained or you're going to both be expanding the energy. But that answers the question in itself, because a man who's lower in consciousness doesn't really understand the act of sex in that way. So you're going to end up just giving your energy to him and being drained at the end.
Happens all the time. You guys, there's a lot of powerful women empowering a lot of low conscious men, and this is why their ego is so large and you can't tell them nothing. You guys are fueling your very own enemies at the end of the day, because you can be fueling your ally and partner, or you can be fueling your enemy. In fact, I just saw someone, they posted what a celebrity had revenge porn put out against her. You can be fueling your own partnership or your own enemy. At the end of the day, you're giving them, you're the life source. You are multi-orgasmic. It's in this book. You are cosmically multi-orgasmic. You are fueling your ally, your partner, or you're fueling your enemy. You're handing them the very arsenal of weapons. Oh, come on. You don't, but when women ask me this question, I go, it changes when you change.
Yeah.
Because it can't be a fuck boy or this boy. If you're fueling that person, the little glow that they got left, the little energy they got left, you are fueling them. They need a spark. This is why the concept, and excuse my language here, this is the bedtime with V, right? And you signed me up for this episode. The new pussy concept comes from a spark of energy. A man will jump from woman to woman because he needs the spark. And you're fueling their behavior. Without the spark, they don't got the glow, they can't attract the money, and they don't feel like a winner.
Right.
So you're treating losers like winners. Oh, man.
This is why you see men that perceivably have it all. They have money, they have a job, they have a career, but they don't have.
Giving it to them.
They
You
don't
are
have.
giving it to them. So this is why
How high is her consciousness if she's allowing parasitic men to drain her?
Let me explain why her consciousness is high. She's multi-orgasmic. Woman is goddess. She is infinitely orgasmic. Listen, a man, if he ejaculates, it's not an orgasm. He has to go through a refractionary period, and then he has to wait a few minutes, 15, sometimes hours, to get back going again. Okay. A woman is multi-orgasmic. She can let off at a clip all day long. So with that being said, she heals faster, she repairs faster, so she can sustain. And this is why she's so patient. She's a nurturer. She can sustain a son, a husband at the same time, and she go teach a classroom if she wants to. She's a nurturer.
But
so she's very powerful. So we're talking about fueling. So her consciousness isn't low, but when she gets drained to the max, then that's when she realizes something's wrong. Because sometimes you can only repair and re-heal so fast. So you understand, the woman consciousness is high, but she's being drained. Yeah, let's do it. It's what we're here for. This is here. We came to come to the people. All this information. We know everybody can't always get the books. We know everybody can't always make a healing session. So we're here.
Okay, so there's two questions. Ever
Great...
try to be monogamous? And I think that's a great question that you should answer. I can ask you too, but you are a man, so we want the masculine perspective of it.
So say it again, the question.
Can you ever change a guy to be monogamous?
Can you change a guy to be monogamous? Okay, this is another question that comes with higher consciousness. You can't change anybody. So we got to just dismiss that part. But I know you got that, Kay. We did the podcast together. You enlightened many as well. We won't change anybody. So this goes back to the consciousness thing. We're not changing. But influence is key. And it's important for them to influence and change themselves. So Victoria, keep up with the questions. Yeah. And I'll do my best to we'll work together to answer. So it's important that if you want a partner to understand your concept of monogamy, you have to live that concept. So right. What it means is
you have to understand
one key. I got one key. You have to be alone. Because that is your first partnership. Mm-hmm. If you don't do anything else, he will come into your life on your terms. But if you're with someone else and you let him back in, there's no longer monogamy. Now you're with two people. Right. So in order to convince anyone of monogamy, you have to live life alone. I guarantee you, if you say to come into my world, these are my terms, he will have to make an agreement in his own mind, make a choice, and move forward. Okay, and you're worth it. You know you're worth it. That's light. You know that's light. But I hope that makes sense. You got to go back to the first relationship with yourself. You have to be like, I'm alone. See, most people go to someone else, then let that person in, and now they're not monogamous anymore, and they're trying to convince monogamy will be monogamous. I'll leave him, and it's a bad game.
Right. So this is another great question. Someone asks, thoughts on masturbation or pleasure when you don't have a partner?
Okay, so we talk about it once again in cosmic sexuality, but we only have so much time here.
There's a lot of other questions who I saw come in.
Masturbation, or from what perspective? Man or woman?
Let's talk about both.
Okay. We talk about this in the book, Healthy Desire is Key. You definitely want to have a healthy desire to birth the correct partnership in your life. So if you're both masturbating and letting off shots, spending that energy, you are creating a very easy entryway for that person to come into your life that's not a proper consciousness. This is why it's such a great secret. This is in all manifestation tools. This is all in transmutation tools. Think and Grow Rich. Sex transmutation. If you build the energy, whatever you desire comes into your life at the highest frequency. So it's not. I'm not speaking about something taboo. This is written by Westerners, Easterners, and now cosmic nerds. Victoria, Shalom. We explain it from a simple way. You want something of high value? Oh man, we didn't come. Listen, man. If I'm gonna give my time, I love you guys. Everyone's in here. We want to give it to you. So this is what we do on an individual scale. Many of you know, but we're ready. We're ready to share as much as we can to the mass. So this is in every thought pattern high level. You cannot get something of high value at a low energy. So if you're letting off, masturbating, letting off that energy, this is why you keep bringing into things in your reality that's of low levels. You have to transmutate that energy, let it rise, let it grow. Then when you will and desire, you'll bring in a high level of it. It's very simple if you think about it on a metaphysics level, but metaphysics is metaphysics. I want to bring it down to a simpler level where it's just energy exchange. You're raising your energy within, so when you desire and will something, you bring it in at that same level. And like I said, if any of this doesn't stick, DM, email, message, and let's work through it. But if you raise the energy within you, then you desire and will it into your life. It has to come back. This is laws. It's coming back at that same level. Okay? So this is why we teach cosmic sexology. When me and Victoria make love, we build this energy together and cycle it and let it keep growing up. So now when we will and desire things, they come back at it, not only a mutual level, but a high level, so it takes care of the whole situation. It's not self-centered where it's coming back for one and not the other. Okay, this comes back to equal consciousness, guys. And we all have it within. You just got to be patient to let it come from outside of you.
So this is great stuff. Thank you for being on with me. There's 2 other questions that are coming in, but you did a good job. I just want you to touch on it one more time because 2 people are asking similar questions.
Okay.
So I'll just read them both. I'm a monogamous person, but he's not. And then someone said a guy may want to be monogamous at one point in his life, and a few years later down the line, he will not want monogamy. Life is ever changing. So what are your thoughts about that? Because it seems like, especially when you're at a point, if you're at a point in a relationship with a man that doesn't understand the concept of partnership and doesn't understand the concepts of sacred sexuality, usually that is the case, right? Usually he's juggling multiple women. So what do you do? What do you do in this situation?
Okay, so understand. The very important part about the man later on, you live it now. I cannot speak to a future that's non-existent. It's very important, and thank you, Mark, for getting back to Kay. I appreciate you guys, and that's what I want. We all got it in here. That's what I love about everybody in here. Everybody in here got it. So it's in here. So we're here together. We can only speak about the now. So everything is, if you stop growing and you stop changing, the relationship ends anyway. Mm-hmm. So the only constant is change. So when you go in, me and Victoria's partnership is built on growth, not built on staying the same. Mm-hmm. So as you grow. But the whole goal is if you stay in growth consciousness, the growth makes sense mutually. Even if you choose to do something other than partnership, that's still a growth choice. So that's fine if you're both happy in that mutual direction of right. You're choosing to grow. We're both very independent in our thought pattern, me and Victoria, but we are in a growth conscious relationship, so we support each other's growth. It's one of the most. Try it.
Yeah. So actually, I want to get into this deeper because, right, this is the whole point about this. I really want to get into it. I don't want to just talk around the subjects, right? We really want to talk about it. So with that being said, I do want to speak to our relationship because there was a point in time when you were figuring out if monogamy was for you, right? I was in the picture. We weren't at the point where we are now. This was like early, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. What shifted for you?
What shifted for me was understanding some principles we wrote about in this book. I realized you cannot grow 2 if you haven't grown 1. If you can't master the first thing, you can't have no business touching the second.
Right.
Problem is, and when I say master, I'm not talking about, I learned it, I got it. I'm talking about you're constant, consistent. So when we talk about cosmic orgasm, Victoria can orgasm at the highest level at will when we choose, whenever we choose. When we talk about mastery, it's a very high level there. It's almost like saying you fully maxed out what's there. And if a woman's multi-orgasmic, right? And if a man is learning how to become multi-orgasmic, which I've achieved that through semen retention, then it's infinite already. Mm-hmm. Add another if you wish, but then you have to now go through the school of learning how to juggle 2 things.
Right.
And that's another school. And then the first one has to be patient while you learn and fumble with the second. Yeah. And you can say, well, you mastered the first, but 2 is different from 1. So the simple law we present in this book that you can choose multiple partners, but that's something you have to first master 1. And when we talk about what's in this book, a woman being multi-orgasmic, infinitely orgasmic, he gonna have his work cut out.
Yeah.
She must be in an infinite orgasmic state for her to say, okay, go ahead, wander away. And if she is, that's a choice that could be made. But what I'm simply saying is, let's get there first and see how beautiful it is that you're constantly experiencing this.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, so it's key. So, it's easy when you're low conscious. You go, oh, let me go get 3 wives. So you got to provide from them all energetically, physically, mentally, spiritually. And, a man being able to
No,
adjust back to back is not.
it's actually semen retention.
Oh, no. So, no. It's actually the opposite. Good question, Kay. No, this is so good. So, a man ejaculating back to back equals death. So, I'm glad you asked that. He will certainly pass out, fall asleep, and be drained, and his erections will slow down, and he will just fall apart soon enough. But then he'll look for that jump start. So, remember the concept of the new nookie. He's gonna look for that because he's gonna need a jump start, and that's where all that coming from. All that drama's coming from. Okay, yeah, that's where all that drama's coming from. He's gonna crawl out of bed to something spark because he done drain himself, and he gotta go find a spark somewhere else. But let's bring it back. It's actually different. It's actually refraining for the man. So it's unique because we're inverts, right? We're opposites, yin and yang. So while Victoria's multi-orgasmic, I'm retaining my semen, building my chi, matching her level, enjoying her orgasms as mine, recycling them and giving them back. So now I become like her, but only through inversion. A man cannot get there through ejaculation. He won't have the energy, discipline, willpower, mental stamina. He's going to have to retain it, hold it back, still have sex, but not let it out. And as he builds his energy, her orgasms now come through clearer. Thank you, Sacred Essence. And now they're sharing that orgasmic space as one, and he's experiencing her orgasm as his without ejaculating anything. 2-for-1 special, no money loss, and we save. Yeah, right here. And we live this. We're not talking, we didn't go to someone else's retreat, get this information, bring it back to you. This is real time.
That Shalom retains his semen, and it was a practice. We had to work together to figure it out. Sometimes in the act of sex, there could be ego involved where you want to just continue, you want to add your partner on, but you got to learn how to work together to help your partner as a masculine figure it out and work together to do it. Talk about it more in the book on how you can actually do it.
Great question. Beautiful. Love us, baby. Is sex still fun and spontaneous for you two in this cosmic sexual practice? Great question. Another one we outlined in the book. Sex is, let me explain. Not only is it fun, it's actually fun.
Right.
People are having fun sex. People are having question mark sex.
Having sex, just having
you don't know what they're going to have. It's like, imagine going to dinner or going to a restaurant. You don't know how the food's going to be today.
Right.
Why would you keep going to that restaurant? We're talking about having sex where you know what they experience. Not that it's going to be great. Your mind is going to be blown. That's the concept of what we're talking about with cosmic sexuality. Imagine going to a restaurant. It couldn't be great if you don't know the food's going to be great all the time. You wouldn't go. You couldn't give it 5 stars. So fun sex to me is knowing that's going to be great sex. And that's no longer a question mark. That's off my bucket list.
Right.
Then this eliminates the need for a man to have a gazillion partners because he's just looking for a spark. Oh, I think it's tighter, it's wetter, it's this. He's looking for a spark. That's what he's looking for. So at the end of the day, no, it's true. I mean, like I said, guys, it's off the hip. We had no preparation for this. I'm glad you guys are here. You guys are all strong in this room, Titans, asking these questions. At the end of the day, it's a simple understanding. If I went to a restaurant that's great, in order for me to call it great, I have to know that the food's going to be on point all the time. Right. Sexuality, sex is always on point. Victoria knows she's getting her massive cosmic orgasm. I know I'm planning to retain my semen, get some of that cosmic orgasmic energy, way bigger than what ejaculation is going to give me, because ejaculation is very local. So it's just stimulating the root sacral area very, very low the lower triangle, and then at the end of the day, the cosmic orgasm is the whole being. You on fire the whole time. Victoria's on fire. I'm on fire.
Literally.
The baby next to us on fire, and everybody getting a little bit of something. You know, this is how they used to fuel the chambers. So at the end of the day, get some fire in your life. Fire is fun if you use it correctly. You know, so this is serious because sex used to be scary. You know, I didn't know what I'll be walking into. Would I have an erection? You know, it's sharing partners that some people are capable of, or should we all aspire it? It's sharing partners. Listen. To each his own. We don't tell people how to have their partnership, but if you're sharing partners, everyone will have to be on the same wavelength, and that's a lot of discipline and work. We compare a lot of this to money. When you become a millionaire and you have business discipline practices, how you let your money come in and out is sacred to you on a level because you worked hard for it, right? So when you talk about sharing partners, y'all sharing money, business partners, you want all your business partners on the same level, and that's sometimes hard because of disciplines and everyone's habits of spending. Okay, so all I say is to say all that is, Victoria, be right back, guys. We also have a little one in the bed with V. That's my concept of sharing partners. Do you all on the same level? And that's what I mean about the work. You know, it's rare when everyone's on the same level. Everyone has the same discipline. You know, you got to make sure everybody's spending their energy wisely. You don't want to have to chase that. So if you somehow come into a group and it's on alignment and everyone's down for it, but generally people protect their home if they're invested in it. So that's just is if you can find it and if you can build it, everything's possible in this universe. And hopefully this book makes more great possibilities. I would love to hear about some great success stories. We love each and every one of you.
You did a great job. Thank you for being
For having me in
part
the
of the conversation tonight.
Melchizedek was in the bed with V. Hopefully everybody else in the bed is as good. I know Mark's supposed to get in the bed, and I know Mark he's a spiritual animal, so I know it's gonna be something great. I mean that in the kindest way, because I know our bodies are animals, Mark, but our spirits are us. So, guys, check it out. Love you guys.
And Shalom will be back on as part of the series too. We have some other great conversations coming up with some really amazing people. So I hope you guys continue to tune in, and I thank you all for being on. I know it's late, but really my idea behind it was that at this time, where literally most of us are all in our bed. And when you're in your bed, I just feel like conversation hits you at a heart level. You accept things differently. You're more vulnerable. So thank you guys for all getting in the bed with me today. You guys.
Hey, thank you. Anja, thank you. So many great souls. Everyone was heavy-headed that came in. If I didn't get to thank you, your spirit means a lot. Thank you for coming in the room. Thank you for being a blessing. We love each and every one of you. DM us, email us. We're open to dialogue.
And we're going to sign off, you guys. Have a great night.
All right, blessings.